What's going on, 49er faithful, 49er fan, 49er gang? This is your boy, Niner Gang Podcast, back in the building with another video. So definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on the post notifications so I can keep you up to date on any and everything San Francisco 49ers. That being said, let's get right on into it, man. So this has been a tumultuous offseason, to say the least. And it's crazy because when you look at everything, it's all centered around the same thing, quarterback position. And that's the unfortunate issue. We always center it around the quarterback thing, but it is what it is. Good morning, Mom. We got to figure out what's going on and who's going to be doing what. What's going on, Bebop? So the cool thing is, at least we know pretty much, Trey Lance is getting all of the first team snaps in OTAs, which is how it should be because Sam Darnold's an outsider. So is Brandon Allen. They just came in, and they don't deserve those snaps. Trey Lance has earned the right to be able to do that, of course, with the draft status that he had, along with the fact that he's been here and he knows the system already. So you're going to give some of his snaps to two backups. That's disrespectful. That's a slap in the face. I'm just saying. So simply put, we'll take a look at the quarterbacks and figure out what our next option is, because we have two quarterbacks that are pretty much going to be fighting for the starting position, even though later in the video I'll get to why I don't think it's a fight and why I think certain things are a foregone conclusion. A lot of y'all know who I am and how I move, so most likely you'll understand that. But let's get it started. Let's get it started with the leader of the clubhouse, Mr. Brock Purdy. So last year, in 9 games, Brock Purdy went 8-0. He went 5-0 in the regular season, 3-0 in the playoffs. So we, had a nice little streak there where we were winning games and everything like that. Brock was 114 of 170 with a 67.1 completion percentage. Sounds close to a previous guy that we had here. Compiled 1,374 yards and 13 TDs, 4 interceptions. And I mean, his long was a 54-yarder. He was pretty much doing his thing. You know what I mean? So Brock came in, didn't lose a game, didn't miss a beat. And he came in and helped us out admirably when we lost basically Jimmy Garoppolo, because we had lost Trey Lance in the second game. We lost Jimmy, a couple games after that. And ever since Brock had come in, there just wasn't a way to stop us. We did everything that we could. We made things happen, so I can't be mad at him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, hey, we appreciate him coming in. He was definitely a light in a dark place, so to speak, because when Jimmy went down, we did not know what Brock Purdy would be. No one knew. I mean, this was Mr. Irrelevant at the time, last pick of the draft, and he came in and completely erased that stigma and showed up and showed out. And, a lot of people in 49er land love him. They think he's, the next big guy and he should be the one to do everything. So I can say, hey, dude did what he was supposed to do. And I'm not mad at him. You know what I mean? I am not. He did a good job in the playoffs. To be honest with you, if people, what's going on, Rocky Mountain Razorback? If people really pay close attention, it was a situation where he didn't have the best game against the Cowboys. Truthfully, he did not. So if you pay attention to his game versus the Cowboys, his stat line wasn't the greatest, but it changed a little bit, So I can just tell you in 3 games, he was, let's see, I'm trying to look at the stat line as far as the give me just a second. Let me get his playoff stats. There we go. So 3 games, he was 2-1, 41 to 63, 65% completion percentage, 569 yards, 3 TDs, didn't throw an interception. Didn't last but 5 minutes in the Cowboys game. Sorry, not in the Cowboys game, in the NFC Championship, because basically, he was waiting on that play to open up. Tyler Kroft whiffed. Hassan Reddick came through and tore Brock's UCL to shreds. That UCL is repaired. Brock is now back to throwing lightly. So he's not going to do anything in OTA. So anybody out there would hope that he's going to start throwing now, you can forget it. Possibly by the start of training camp. That's a long shot. But, if you listen to what Brock has been saying more recently, Brock has been stating that he's going to take his time with the injury. Let God willing, it heals right, then he's good, But as far as Brock Purdy goes, great numbers, great stats. He did a lot of good things for us. I'm not mad at him by any stretch of the imagination. Thank him so much for coming in and doing what he did as far as that is concerned. But for me personally, you have to take it with a grain of salt because he did go on. He did do some great things last season, and he did do some stuff to wow a lot of people. I mean, his athleticism was definitely underrated coming out of college. Nobody really knew. He did play the full 4 years at Iowa State, so we saw a lot more from him than we saw from Trey Lance. But once again, Mr. Irrelevant. So obviously, there was not enough people in the NFL that thought this guy was worthy of being drafted, higher. And he came in and kind of proved them wrong. And I'm pretty sure they probably got a few calls about him during the offseason. But here's the thing. You're not going to get the 49ers to bite on anything until they actually go ahead and see that you've given them a fair offer. Somebody calls and they say, hey, well, Brock was a 7th round pick. I'll give you a 4th. They're going to look and go, no, that's all right. Because you know what? Brock did his thing, and we're very proud of him, and we love what he did, and we're not going to settle for a 4th round pick. You're going to give us more if you really truthfully want this guy. So I just went ahead and pulled up some of his numbers and the things from the situation. So if you look at the playoffs, you know what I mean? We come in and we have to go ahead and take care of things. And versus Dallas, this is where I was, a little shaky on them. Of course, we lost to Philly inevitably in the NFC Championship game. But this is where I wanted to definitely touch on really quick because he didn't necessarily have the greatest game versus the Cowboys in the playoffs. And I'm trying to get this thing to load if it would. Come on. No, it didn't load the way I wanted it to. Either way, all I'm saying is while we love the fact that Brock Purdy is here, we got to pump the brakes on automatically crowning this guy the dude just strictly because we don't know what Trey Lance has to offer, and we don't know how well that UCL is going to heal. Surgery can change people. It can make you better. It can make you worse. Surgery can be a situation where your first year back, you don't look the same, but the next year you look better or you look back to normal. It's a wait and see approach, and I think a lot of 49er fans have to wait and see when it comes to Brock Purdy as far as that injury goes. Yes, he's able to throw. I know that excites a lot of people, and it gives a lot of these writers and other content creators, a lot of clickbait and whatnot. Like, cool, look, he's throwing. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. So for me personally, I'm not going to say anything. I will say this. It's very simple. Brock Purdy has done what he needed to do. He is the man for the time being. And hopefully in camp, it's truly a competition. John and Kyle have said that, but I'm not 100% sold on what they say because they lie to us all the time. John is Mr. I'm encouraged, and Kyle is Mr. I don't know if we're going to be alive tomorrow. So I can't necessarily trust anything coming out of their mouths because you got one dude who don't know if he's going to live, and you got another dude who's encouraged by, Brock took a step with his right foot, landed on his heel, and then came down to the ball of his foot. We're encouraged by that. Like, this is the shit you hear from the GM and the head coach. So I'm sorry. While a lot of people ride with him, they've done an admirable job as a head coach and GM tandem. But been a lot of misses. If you don't believe me, go back and watch my video that I had on John and Kyle's drafts over the past couple of years. There've been more misses than hits. And with the draft, yes, it is a hit or miss type of deal. You don't know what you're going to get out of certain guys. But starting with the guys that we currently have in the building, you could say they hit on Brock only because the 7th-round pick usually isn't expected to come in and do much of anything, and he did a lot for the small span of time that he had. So I can't be mad at it. You don't know if they hit on Trey Lance or not because you've never really seen the guy be on the field for a consistent amount of time to give you enough tape and film to really truthfully make an assumption. When it comes to Sam Darnold, I mean, guys bounced around to a couple teams in the league. The only reason he's here now is because they were looking at him last year. Brandon Allen, pretty much a backup. Didn't do much of anything in the league, has never started. And a lot of people have, said that he's looking good. Hear the reports that, he's not missing the throw, this, that, and third. But when you're playing against, the third-string guys, you have none of the real starters there. And, you're playing against, like, the third-string defense. I mean, yeah, it's going to be easy to look fantastic. What's going on, Dave? So I can't sit up there and give Brandon Allen a ton of credit because you're playing against, the worst of the worst. Now, if Brandon Allen goes out there against the starting defense and then he starts doing all these things they're saying he's doing, then, yeah, that makes a total amount of sense. But for me, do I like Brock Purdy? Yes. Do I think that Brock Purdy should start? No. And my reasoning is strictly just based on the fact that we spent too much on Trey Lance for us to just give up on him like that. Did Brock have a great season? Did we see him out there doing it? Yes. And we saw pretty much what you would have wanted to see from someone. But here's a kicker. And there was a guy that did that to us in 2017. Last few games of the season, ripped off some wins. Everything looked great. Next season, he tore his damn ACL because he thought he was a fucking running back, trying to do spin moves and shit. So due to the recent history with Kyle, I'm not going to trust the fact that, I'm sold on any and everything. Just, hey, what's going on, Brian? Just based on the fact that I'm not sure. So I have to see more, and I have to see it consistently more for me to be able to go ahead and put more faith into the kid. Not to say that I didn't like what he did and didn't appreciate him taking on that nice little playoff run and making us feel great as 49er fans and doing all of the things that he did, the running, the pirouetting and all of that stuff in the pocket and moving and here and there. And, his energy when he scores, all of that stuff. I love that. I love all of it. I love the way the team rallied around him. And I appreciate the way that they just embraced him. He came into the huddle. He wasn't playing. He took, he gave no fucks. He did everything he was supposed to do. So I can appreciate that. But I still need to see what you got in Trey Lance. I'm sorry. I just do. And see, the reason that I can't give up on Trey Lance like I gave up on, say, Javon Kinlaw or like Jalen Hurd is because those dudes had opportunities. They just couldn't do anything. Jalen Hurd just couldn't get on the fucking field. After that back injury, it's been curtains for him. And, much love to the man. I hope that his mental health as well, because that is a very, very big thing to go through when you're normally out there playing and doing things. And next thing you know, boom, I wind up in a situation where I can't, I can't even do the thing that I love the most to play football. So then the other thing as well is when it comes down to, a Javon Kinlaw, he's had time on the field and nothing has been done. So if I see you and you're out there, then yeah, I have enough film to judge you. And I'm just saying Kinlaw was a bust. He was not a good pick. They knew he was injured when they picked him. They picked him any damn way, like the stubborn, hard-headed motherfuckers that they are. And look what happened. We ain't had no production from that other spot since DeForest Buckner. And now we went out and we dropped some nice little change in Javon Hargrave's pocket so we could put him opposite of Arik Armstead, and that'll in turn wind up making Armstead better because he alone, I believe he had 66 pressures last year. But nonetheless, this is about the quarterback, so we'll stick to that. I was just using, Hurd and Kinlaw as examples of, kind of how you see things as far as judging a guy and giving them something. So we never got to see what Jalen Hurd could be because he could never get on the field, and we got to see what Javon Kinlaw really is, and he just can't stay on the field. So you got to be smart about it, and then you got to make sure you had the right guys. And Brian is correct; you can't pay you can't pay everyone. So the team is always going to be built up of a few, a certain amount of stars here and there, but you will have some guys that just fill in spots and fill in holes, and that's just their job, and that's what they do. But that's going to be consistent throughout time because you're never going to be able to hold these dudes, when it comes to pay. Because if they outplay themselves, outplay their contracts, they're going to come back and their agent's going to go, well, look what they did. I'm not settling for less than this. Or other teams are going to come calling and saying, hey, I saw what you did. I'll pay you that. It's a part of the game. That's just how it works. It's his business at the end of the day. So when it comes to Brock Purdy, if I were to give him a grade for last year, I'd give him a B+. I'm not going to give him an A because I didn't really see what he could do against, the Eagles. And I would have wanted to see that. Because the Cowboys defense was all right. It was fairly stout, but we barely scraped by in that game. It did not look the best. So, you just got to be careful with guys, and you got to take a look at dudes and make sure that, you keep a close eye on them as it pertains to what they do and what they can't do, because you don't want to wind up in a situation where these things happen. Oddly enough, when you look at the stats for the Cowboys game, he was 19 of 29, 214 yards. He didn't even throw a TD. He got sacked twice. He had a 53.3 QBR. So I'm not trying to tell you that Brock Purdy sucks and that he's bad and it's this and it's that, but just listen to those numbers. And that's a playoff game. Now, yes, that was a back and forth defensive battle, but either way, he had a run of games where he was looking great, throwing touchdown after touchdown, hitting George Kittle, reviving his career, all of those things, CMC, everything. And then he hit that wall versus the Cowboys. So though we came out with the W, that's a time where you definitely would want your quarterback to step up, is all I'm saying. So then we slide over to Mr. Lance. And Trey has been here with us for a couple of years. He has not played very much football. First year he did not play because they wanted to start Jimmy Garoppolo. And that was the plan all along. A lot of people were saying it's because Lance couldn't beat out Garoppolo. And Kyle was basically saying, for him to do that would be a large feat, in and of itself, just for him to be able to, beat him out in general, because Jimmy is a starting caliber quarterback. And he is. I'll give him that much. But at the end of the day, a lot of people were saying, oh, he's not smart enough. He's not this, he's not that. But then you turn around and look at the way that the 49ers organization was talking about him, how he got the playbook down within 2 weeks, as far as just like terminologies and whatnot, and, how he has an understanding. Hell, the first touchdown of the season that year was thrown by Trey Lance. He was in and out throughout the year because he basically wound up kind of having to play in certain games because we needed him to. When Jimmy Garoppolo had his phantom calf injury versus the Seahawks, Trey came in, and Jimmy was looking bad that game as it was. Trey came in and, lit things on fire, brought us back, almost got us a W in that one. The game versus the Cardinals, I just don't count because I was there in person, and I can tell you right now, that was the worst offensive game plan I've ever seen Kyle draw up. I've never seen him do anything. That was bad. And sitting Jawan Jennings and starting Travis Benjamin made absolutely no fucking sense. So he didn't really necessarily help us in that game, but came out like a champ and said, hey, all of this is on me. I have to be better. This is not on anyone else, like a real quarterback would do. Not the piece of shit that we used to have here, but that's irrelevant because that jackass is gone. So the other thing is he gave us a shot in the arm in the Green Bay game, and everything seemed to kind of pan out the way that we wanted it to for that first year. He did hurt his finger, and the finger injury lingered for a very long time. So the next season we come in, We're ready to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. We're heading into the season. This is Trey Lance's season. This is, his team. We're doing things the way that we need to. Trey Lance plays the first game in Chicago, and that's just fighting a monsoon and weather and the elements and all kinds of stuff. Elijah Mitchell goes down, as he always does. His knees are Mr. Glass that just can't stay healthy for a very long time, and we haven't been able to see him healthy, in a full season since he's been here. So, he had an okay game, but it's just frustrating. And then the next game, you come in, you see him as RPO where he gets injured. He goes in, ankle is torn up. He didn't even realize it initially, but it is. So it's definitely a hard sell when it comes down to it as far as Trey Lance is concerned. A lot of people are looking at it going, well, look, he came in and he didn't look great, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, it's hard to look good when your coach decides to basically make your offense run heavy and make you a part of that run-heavy offense and not allow you to do the things they allow the other quarterbacks to do, because we all can see with our own two eyes, Jimmy and Brock got a whole different playbook. This is just very simple. So maybe, Kyle, if you let, Trey run the offense that you had Jimmy and Brock running, he might look a little bit better, because to be honest with you, with a quarterback like Trey, you want their athleticism to be second and their intelligence to be first. You want that athleticism to be a fail-safe. Hey, I don't have anything. I truthfully don't. I've been through my reads at least once. I don't have anything. I don't have anywhere to go. Let me use these legs to open up some more space. Let's do this. Let me move over here. Let me, spin out of this one. Let me avoid this sack. That's the times when you want them to use it. But the minute the ball is hiked, you want them to execute the play to the best of their ability. But if you give them just nothing but run-heavy plays and a run-heavy offense and you make them a part of that, you want to risk on that guy getting injured. Perfect example of the guy that Kyle would probably fall in love with would be Josh Allen. Why? Because he's white and he's a great dual threat quarterback. And yeah, I said because he's white, because I told y'all how I feel about Kyle Shanahan and black quarterbacks. He just doesn't care for them. You don't believe me? See RG3. You don't believe me? Look at all the other quarterbacks that he's coached. These are just facts. And once again, I've never said Kyle was racist or anything. People have preferences in life for certain things, and I am sorry, Kyle has a preference for a white quarterback. It is what it is. Whether you believe me or not, that's fine. That's up to you. What's going on, Edgar? So, yeah, exactly. There it is. Brian said it best. Why did we bring Trey in to change the offense? Now we want Trey to run, the Jimmy. Here's the thing. Whatever offense they gave Jimmy and Trey seemed to be – Jimmy and Brock seemed to be working, and it worked well. The difference is with Trey, you open up that same offense even more by the downfield shots now being there because he has the arm to get it there. I don't know what kind of arm Brandon Allen has, and I can give two shits about what Sam Darnold has. But I'm just saying right now, Trey Lance is the guy. He's basically the technical starter for OTAs. And then when training camp comes in and Brock is healthy enough, hopefully they do truthfully allow it to be an open competition. Do I believe it will be an open competition? Not by any stretch of the imagination. I believe John and Kyle are sold on Brock Purdy, and they're going to stick with him. And I believe that's mainly because they saw something out of him, and they got to see it consistently for several games. So if anything, Brock is definitely number one in the pecking order just because of the resume that he has. And you would have to say that Allen and Darnold are definitely 3 and 4 or 4 and 3, whichever way you want to put for either dude, because they're fresh, they're brand new, and they don't know the offense, and they just got here. So you have to say the trade would be at a bare minimum number 2. Why? He was drafted that high. They're not going to give up on him, and they're not going to go ahead and get rid of him unless somebody comes and gives them an offer that's just going to blow their socks off. But I can tell you this: if I'm Trey Lance and I don't get a fair shake at things, and it seems like they're giving that favoritism to Brock, I go to the front office and I tell them, y'all can get me up out of here. I'm not about to sit up here, behind Brock Purdy all year long. Yes, once again, Trey is a very humble dude. He said in his press conference, this is where he wants to be. All he wants is an opportunity. He just wants to compete. He's going to say all of the right things. He's been properly trained. I think his mom and his dad helped him a lot with that media and let him know exactly how to talk, and possibly college coaches and other people. But I started home with mom and dad. Why? Because Mom and dad are usually the people that raise you and instill in you the values that you have for you to go forward in life, along with other people, then, your environment and things of that nature. But a good majority of what you learn comes from the home. What's going on, Steve-O? He said, was it open camp last year? Nope, no, it was not. So here's the thing. You have two guys. You have one guy you invested a lot in because you went up very high to draft. And you have another guy that, came in and just kind of blew your socks off because of his play and everything that he did on the field. So you wind up putting yourself in a bit of a catch-22. So for me personally, I would say it's very simple. Brock's a guy. That's just what we're going to have to work with as it pertains to that. And then if anything, Trey Lance definitely is there. He's right on his heels, and he's basically saying, hey, this is what it is. I would love for Trey Lance to come out there, show up and show out and beat everybody out and do all the things. I just honestly don't believe he's going to get a fair chance. We know what he's done since he's been here. We have to credit Trey Lance with helping us get to the playoffs in his first year, because if he doesn't win that Houston game, we don't make the playoffs. And we have to credit him for the things he did in that year, for the shots in the arm that he gave us, for, those moments when he uplifted the team when we needed it at best. So those are the things that, we got to appreciate him for. So hopefully he gets a fair shot. Do I believe he has a fair shot? Not by any stretch of the imagination. So we can move on to Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold brought in this year. Kyle likes him and all this other stuff. Pretty much at the end of the day, I'm going to make Sam Darnold short and sweet. He hasn't had any success anywhere he's been. And USC quarterbacks just have been failures in the NFL. Sorry. The last relevant quarterback for USC was Carson Palmer, and he was a relevant regular season quarterback. He wasn't relevant in the playoffs. He ain't never won a Super Bowl. The most recent USC quarterback to get anywhere near a Super Bowl was Mr. Butt Fumble himself, Mark Sanchez. He went to the AFC Championship game 2 years in a row, albeit off of the backs of the Jets defense, yes. But at the end of the day, he went. Just like everybody gives Jimmy credit for the playoff wins that he has with us, might as well go ahead and give Sanchez credit for the playoff wins. He was a part of the team, and he was the starter. So it is what it is. So at the end of the day, if you want to say anything, you'd have to give credit to Mark Sanchez, who is now just doing commentating, and he's got a better playoff resume than any of the USC quarterbacks that have pretty much come to the league more recently. So and I know a lot of people are like, well, how are you going to say it's just USC? It's not just USC. I'm just focusing on them because that's the college that Darnold came from. This is very simple, man. The guy, he's all right. Is he going to be overly fantastic? Is this the next Steve Young or Joe Montana for this franchise? I don't know, but I don't think so. Not by what I've seen so far. Steve-O Supremo says, as long as we get our guy to me, the picks cancel each other out, 7th or 3 first, both were free. I mean, yeah, I get it. And all we want at the end of the day, Steve-O, is results. That's pretty much what we want. So for me, Sam Darnold is there. You've got a lot of people out there in the media giving him props. You've got Jordan Palmer bigging him up. You've got Louis Riddick bigging him up. And yeah, you're supposed to back your guy, and if you have a guy that you got ties to and they're bigging that guy up, of course, you're going to go out there on national TV and throw that out. It's even been said that Sam's going to beat out Trey Lance, that he's going to be the starter and all this other shit. To me personally, nobody's going to be able to beat out Trey Lance or Brock Purdy, for, lack of a better word, as far as Brandon Allen and Sam Darnold, or lack of a better QB, should I say, because those dudes aren't on that level. Sam Darnold got picked high, never panned out. And the Jets went and picked another quarterback high, that didn't pan out. Now they sitting there with Mr. Ayahuasca, Aaron Rodgers. So how'd that turn out for you? It's just very simple for me. I honestly don't believe that Darnold is going to be able to beat out Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. Of course, at the same time, when you're not going to be given that opportunity. That's the problem. A lot of people think the open competition at quarterback that John and Kyle had just recently talked about is everybody. It's not everybody. It's literally between Brock and Trey. Sam and Brandon have no business in that mix at all, and they can do nothing to show that. And I can tell you right now, the reason I'm going to give you this. Sam QB3. That's a given, and Brandon's going to be the practice squad guy. It's just how it works. For me, I'll tell you this though, and I'm gonna keep it a buck. When it comes to Brandon Allen, you know why he'll never win in the NFL? Because Kyle has faith in him. Last couple of dudes, Kyle said he saw something that he liked in them. Ain't nothing. Nothing. He likes CJ Beathard. He likes Nick Mullins. He likes this guy. He likes that guy. I see something in it. All that shit don't mean nothing until you get on the field and prove it. And pretty much when Kyle starts having faith in you, you start losing, or you go out there and you just cannot produce. So I'm going to say off the rip, Brandon Allen, you're going to be the 4th-string guy, and you'll be on the practice squad. We'll call you up if we need you. God forbid we need you, because hopefully we don't. And then the pecking order for me is just going to be right now. I will say this, and I say this, glowingly and as appreciatively as I can. Brock is 1A, Trey is 1B. Trey is 1B because he hasn't given the coaching staff anything to go on as far as games and film and tape. But Brock is 1A because he has, and he has a couple playoff wins. So we can't discount what he's already done, and I'm not going to be that guy. But will I tell you I'm a Trey Lance guy? Yes, 150%. I would rather Trey Lance go out there and win and blow everything out the box and shit on everybody and make all of y'all cry, that are dying to have Brock Purdy or even Sam Darnold start. But that's a TBA to be continued. I don't know much about Brandon Allen. I know he's been a career backup. He's been hanging out behind Joe Burrow over there in Cincinnati the past couple of years. So that's fine. And you're a backup, and it is what it is. And that's cool. And yes, you've had a couple of headlines that you completed all your passes and whatnot. No one gives a fuck because you're throwing against mediocre competition. You're not playing against, the first, second, the first string guy. Not even our second string guys are out there. And most of the guys that we have don't really come to OTAs like that. They usually continue to do their own training in the off season, and then they'll come through when training camp shows up, because that's when it really matters. OTAs, honestly, for vets and for stars on the team, that's usually just like a bonus. Like if I go, they'll give me 200,000 or 100,000 or 50,000 or something like that, And then some guys go because they want to just show genuine, true leadership. So I understand that, but I'm going to go ahead and end it there. I got to get ready, get up out of here, get to work. But I'll tell you this. It is going to be fun, and I do hope and pray that they give a competition to Trey Lance and Brock Purdy, and they allow it to be fair, and they allow those dudes to really duke it out and go ahead and figure out what's going on. But at the end of the day, I will say this. I don't believe it's going to be a fair shake. I do believe that they're going to make it look like there's a competition. And please, people, don't ask Kyle who the hell the QB is going to be, because he ain't going to do nothing but lie to you or omit or go on a long-ass fucking soliloquy about some bullshit and make you forget that you asked a fucking question. It doesn't make a difference. You know what I'm saying? Kyle's not going to tell you who the starting QB is. We won't know until that person steps on the field week 1. It'll all be speculation. There'll all be a lot of talk about it. But it is what it is. We just have to deal with it until we actually see who the fuck steps on the field in week 1. I prefer it to be Trey Lance because I know what he can do, and I feel that the guy has the talent, and I feel that he is better than all of the quarterbacks that we currently have on our roster. I like what Brock Purdy did. I love his moxie, and I love the way that, his intensity when he gets on the field and how he rallies the team and everything like that. And that's great. Sam Darnold, I could give a flying fuck about, and so could, but I could give a flying fuck about Brandon Allen too. And I'm just keeping it a buck. Whereas other content creators sometimes will try to be partial. Y'all know me. I keep it a buck. I don't stray from it. The only 2 quarterbacks that truthfully matter on this fucking squad are Brock and Trey. And then Sam as the 3rd stringer just because, he's here. But I'm going to be honest with you. I want Trey Lance to be the guy. I want him to be our day 1 starter this year. And I would love if that happens. And if anything, at least get that man an 8-game leash. Say, hey, man, look, in 8 games, we need to make sure we see X, Y, and Z. And that way, we don't go back to Brock. Because if we see certain things and you start to fail and you're floundering and it looks like you just can't handle things, we do have him here and he was winning. So, we can't put him on the field at any time. So what's up, Crazy Juice? So it does suck that, that could be something that could be going on internally, but it would be the easiest way to give him a fair shake without shitting on him and basically saying, Brock's better than you. No matter what you do during training camp, you're just not the guy. That's just how it works. I mean, I would do something like that. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Anybody who watches the video later, appreciate it. Everybody hit the like and subscribe button. I'll be back with more videos on all of our position groups. We'll break down some guys a little more in depth, some guys that I like, and we'll take a look at some things. But glad that some 49er football is back. We got the OTAs rolling. Then we'll have a couple months where we'll have a little bit of break, and I might disappear again. But for right now, these next couple of days, I will be trying to hit these airwaves hard and get some good content coming in for y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Everybody stay blessed, stay faithful, and I'm out this joint. Peace.